What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to look at the review scores for Persona 5 Tactica, a game that comes out later this week, one of the final games of 2023, and one of the final games that I'm interested in 2023, so I am very, very much looking forward to this, having played Persona 5 and Strikers. Didn't do Royal, and that could be a big mistake, but I did actually really, really like Strikers and thought it was an awesome spin-off, but obviously, continuing the story of the Phantom Thieves, and this game seems to be somewhat of the same. Now, I did actually see some reviews on the bottom end of things talking about, Strikers is better, which I don't exactly doubt. And actually, as we go through some of these reviews, it seems to be because the actual, tactics part, that kind of gameplay that they're going for this game, that seems to be the weak part. Now, as I always say for all of these, I kind of just assume it's a given at this point, but I go based off of myself. I go based off what I've seen so far. Obviously, I'm getting the game day one. I'll be playing it. I'll be reviewing it myself, and you guys can look out for that on the main channel podcast. Now, I look at these scores. They're fun to talk about for sure, but I don't make my decision based off of what critics say. However, it's got a 78, which is pretty darn solid, and it's got plenty of really good ones, but it doesn't actually have the super, super high end, like the 10 out of 10s, even 95 or 9.5. So it actually doesn't have, at the time I'm recording this, any of those. It's only got 20 reviews, I think, posted, maybe 21, and the highest scores are 90s. Now, there's 3 of them. There's some in the 80s. Actually, 80 seems to be the main one. It seems like there's 7 or 8 that are in the 80s, but there's actually quite a few. There's 3, I believe, in the 60s. That actually is 60 on the dot, and then a 70, so on, so on. And like I said, it seems like, and that's what these videos kind of are, right, looking at what the critics are saying, seems like on the lower end, I'd say actually universally, the character/story is generally liked. I think it does depend. There's actually some even in the 70s that talk about how much they liked the characters or liked the story. But like I said, the lower you go, the ones that are in the 60s, generally, it's the gameplay. It's the mechanics of the gameplay that is kind of the weak spot. And, again, I don't actually think that's all that shocking. They have talked about this game before in that they kind of just wanted to attempt it, right? This is something that, we've had Persona spin-off games throughout, all of human history, but this one is very different. It is something that they've done for the very first time. So it is cool to see them trying it. And, obviously because of all that, that might be a weakness of it, right? If it's not, full-blown for the tactics kind of gameplay. And like I said, that generally seems like, in terms of replaying missions or the way it's structured where you're going to use base attacks, I saw a couple of review sites say. So it doesn't seem like the most detailed tactic, base game out there. But like I said, depending on the scores you look at, I would say universally, though, characters good, story good. It's the gameplay that's a little bit lacking, and that's okay. To be honest with you, I'm playing it. Actually, no, I would say this. I'm trying to walk myself through it, in my head. I am playing this, I'd say, for the characters. I think this is an incredible, maybe not the best cast Persona has ever had, but the Persona casts are kind of legendary just in general. They always have great casts. I think this is one of the greatest casts in all of gaming, the Persona 5 one. So, and I've talked about it before, with Strikers, with this, anytime you can get me back in and just to either hear the voice actors again or, just their story and kind of all coming back together, even though in all of these games, they kind of break up and say their very heartfelt goodbyes. It's always very emotional to say goodbye to them, and then they kind of just get back together, right, for the next adventure. It is super cool to see them all back. So I'll always kind of take more of that. And I guess it doesn't really matter what gameplay feature they have for it. But there you go. So not, again, not the most dazzling reviews of all time. It's kind of right there in the middle. 78 is actually pretty darn solid. But like I said, you don't really have any perfect scores, which most times, if you get into the 80s, games that have 80 scores, sometimes there is a couple 10 out of 10s, none here, but there's also no 4, some oddball one. Kotaku didn't do a score yet, but you don't have a 3 or a 2 or anything crazy like that. Seems like a really rock solid game, I guess, right? That just kind of varies depending on, I guess, your preference and what are you playing it for? Are you playing it for the characters, or are you playing it for the gameplay? You could be playing it obviously for a mixture of them, but like I said, I'll be playing it. I'll give you guys my review a few days. It may take actually more than a few days. I saw one review talk about 25 or 30 hours, so it's going to take me a little bit to beat it, but once I do, I'll do a review for you guys. Let me know what you think. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.